Collaborative learning can be effective in education, but it does not always lead to the desired learning outcomes. When students work together on a group product, they often complain about free riding by other students, or students divide the tasks and then carry them out individually. There is often no collaborative learning involved. This animation is made by the Teaching, Learning and Technology Research Group. It explains what you should bear in mind when you decide to use collaborative learning. In 7 steps, it describes how you can develop an effective collaborative learning assignment. Before you start designing a learning practice for collaborative learning, ask yourself whether collaborative learning is the right format for the assignment and learning goals. Collaborative learning is a didactic approach. You should only use collaborative learning if it helps solve a didactic challenge. In any case, the collaboration should be meaningful and contribute to enhancing the learning process of each student involved. First of all, it is important that you decide which objectives you want to reach with collaborative learning. If you want students to enter into a discussion with each other and so arrive at a deeper insight, the design will differ from that of a learning practice intended to develop a product together. Processing knowledge together requires a lot of interaction and exchange. Learning to collaborate is also seen as a goal of collaborative learning, and this requires guidance. You should describe the learning objectives as concretely as possible. Only then can you determine whether those objectives have been met. You start on the actual design in Phase 2. You will explore the strict requirements imposed by the context, the requirements which must be met by your design. One of your requirements might be the mandatory number of contact hours to be timetabled at fixed times, or a minimum team size for collaborative learning. If the parameters are non-negotiable, there may be little chance that you can produce a successful design. You have to decide whether you should continue with the design. Once you have decided which goals you want to achieve with collaborative learning, and there are no factors that might hinder this process, you can determine the functional requirements. In Phase 3, you determine which requirements the design should meet. Many of these designs requirements can be derived from the theory about effectively designing collaborative learning. Functional requirements focus on the process of collaborative learning. The way to organize and arrange this is to use a script. There are 2 ways to distinguish the script: the social script and the cognitive script. The social script shows which interactions take place, where and when, and between which persons. The cognitive script deals with the specific content of those interactions between students. The combination of both scripts determines the actual quality and depth of the collaborative learning. Once it has been determined how the learning practice should be organized, guided and supported, it is important to establish what is required to make it feasible in practice. In Phase 4, you determine the operational requirements the design should meet. In terms of feasibility, you should consider the characteristics of the assignment you give to students, the size and composition of the teams that should collaborate, and the conditions to be met by the learning environment. This concerns both the layout of the physical spaces, such as the flexibility of the layout, and ensuring that correct functionalities are available in the digital environment. In Phase 5, you consider which limiting conditions still exist with the design, but also how flexible the script is, to allow it to be carried out in practice. Limiting conditions are not strict parameters. They are negotiable and can still be influenced in the design phase, or while you are preparing to implement them in practice. The available contact time can be a limitation. However, consider whether contact time is necessary for physical meetings. If the assessment method is fixed, you can still consider using formative assessments to support the learning process. Once you have established the parameters, the functional and operational requirements, and the limiting conditions, you can consider whether you can transfer all these parameters to the design. In Phase 6, you determine which requirements and conditions must be incorporated into the design. In this phase, it is important to discuss with the colleagues who will be implementing the design. They can help decide what is most important, and they become co-owners of the design. This increases the chance the design will be carried out as intended. Their experience sheds new insight on the design. Once the design is finished, it should be carried out in practice. This requires preparation. It is important to determine which parts of the script must not be deviated from. Otherwise, this could have an impact on the success of the collaborative learning process. Phase 7 is about preparing for a successful implementation. This phase can also be started at an earlier stage. This preparation can involve the instruction of training of those lecturers who will carry out the design in practice, the setting up of a digital environment to support the collaborative learning, preparing everyone to work with the script, and setting up an evaluation of the initial text. So to conclude, collaborative learning can be very effective as a didactic approach, but only if it is used for the right reasons. You must produce a well-considered design, prepare for its successful implementation in practice, and evaluate the effectiveness of the design. The Teaching, Learning and Technology Research Group of In Holland University of Applied Sciences conducts research into collaborative learning and the effective use of technology for this purpose. More information can be found on the website www.inholland.nl/TLT.